Hello viewers, my name is Olegwuchigoze from OCICT Center. In this very demo, I'm going to show you how to write advanced action and variable in Adobe Captivate. And the major function of the variable and advanced action we shall be writing will be to reveal the next button when the user interact with all the content of that very page. Let me show you quickly what I mean. This is a project, a finished project. Okay, so I want the next button to show when the user interact on all these buttons or the images. Okay, all these images are clickable content, and likewise the button. So if I click on the let's say education, you can see it reveal the content of the education. When the user click finish reading, can interact with another one. For example, the government, can see it now changes to the government. Now the user can click in any order, can just jump to this skill acquisition. Can see it here. The next button is not here shown because the user have not interacted with all the contents. Okay, so let's say click industry, it changes. The user read all the content of the industry. Click on training companies and read it. Now it is remaining only one button for the user to for the next button to show, that is extended enterprise. See how every content you or every button you click is highlighted with green. That is indicator that you have already clicked on that very button. Okay, except this extended enterprise. Okay, when I click on extended enterprise now, the next button is going to show. Can see it now. Okay, so the next button now, and the user can now navigate away from this page. Okay, so that's what we are going to build in a moment. So I'm going to minimize this and launch Captivate. Okay, this is this duplicate of that slide, and here there is no action. If I preview this, let me preview this very content so you see what we're going to do, so you can be able to understand what we're going to do. You can see if I click on this button, nothing is happening because there is no action and there is no trigger associated to these very buttons. Nothing is happening, nothing. Even the next button, I can navigate away from this page because no action yet. So I'm going to close that. So now if I will not be showing you how to set up all this in, but how to write the advanced action. Now, if I click on the continue button, for example, you can see there is no action associated to it, no action. And if I go to each of these buttons, all these images are clickable content, and right now there is no action. No action is associated to it. Now, if I go to under project, let me view the advanced action section. You can see here there is no action. Okay, under advanced action there is no action, it is empty. Okay, there is no action at all, so we are going to write our action to trigger this content. Likewise, if I go to the variable section, a variable, you can see there is no variable except the default user variable that has been integrated with this project. Okay, so we are going to write our own variable that will track the user's interaction within this particular project. Okay, so to get started, I will start by writing let's start with the variable. Okay, so I go to the project and select variable. Now here I'm going to add a new variable. I'm going to write a variable that will track when the user click on these 6 items. Have the education, government, industry, training company, extended enterprise, and skill acquisition. So to get started, I will going to name my variable based on what I have here. So I will start by clicking add new. Okay, then I give the variable name. I give it a name. Let's say var underscore education. So this variable is going to track the education. Okay, so and I'm going to give it initial value of 0. So I'm going to add another variable that will track the government. I give it initial value of 0. Okay, I click add new, add another variable. Okay, the initial value of each of these variable given as 0. Okay, so to add another variable, I click add new and add another variable. When giving a variable name, you should give it a unique name that you can easily remember. I'm giving my variable to relate to each of these buttons, so I can know which of this button it is tracking. Okay, so I add new. Because we have 6 buttons, I'm writing 6 variables to track when the user click on each of these buttons. Okay, the last variable we are going to add is the variable that will track the skill. The initial value 0, then I click save. Now we have our 6 variables which will correspond to each of these buttons here. Okay, so we have so our 6 variables are already written. I click close. Now we'll be saving this project because I don't trust the power sector here. Okay, the next thing we are going to start now is the advanced action. Each of these advanced action we're going to execute to trigger content. But before I show you what this advanced action is going to do, this very shape here, this is a smart shape, but it has a multiple state. Okay, I've added multiple state which correspond to the explanation of each of these heading or title. Okay, so if I go to the state view of this very rectangular shape, so I go to the state view, so I show you the different state. This is the different state for each of these button, which correspond to explain the content of each button. Okay, so it explain each button. Okay, so it is a multi-state object. I also give it a unique name that correspond to each of these buttons. For example, the first one, I named it education. You can name it anything, but all you need to know is give it a name that you can easily know what it is associated with. Because when writing an advanced action, we see the importance of giving your content a unique name. I'm going to click exit state. I also show you that every object I have here is labeled, is given a unique name. For example, this very rectangle here, I gave it services explanation. Okay, that is the unique name I gave it. And here, each of our button here, when I click on this image, okay, image is not well labeled. No, I don't worry about, because I have these buttons. I also give it a unique name. You can see education button. It also have it is a multi-state object, smart shape also. I show you I have added a visited state to this very button. I have a visited state to it. So I click exit. Likewise, each of these buttons have a visited state added. It is a custom state. I have added it as a visited state. Now, this continue button is going to be hidden initially. So I select it here and click this eye icon. The eye icon, when you click on it, you can see this sign, cross, the red cross, diagonal cross around it, showing that it is invisible. Okay, this button is not going to be visible in output. Okay, it will only be visible when we trigger it with the advanced action we are going to write. Okay, so to get started writing this advanced action, I can go to the project or select any of these button or the image that I'm using as a button. I go to, you can see there is no action associated to it. Likewise, all these images, no action, and the button also no action. Okay, so you can select one of these image and go to section. I'm going to select execute advanced action, and under advanced action section, the script, there is no action. You can see it is not showing any action. So what I'm going to do, you click on this icon, advanced action. Now it launches the advanced action panel where you write your advanced action. So I'm going to give my advanced action a unique name, and the name I'm going to give it is check underscore. So since we are starting with the education button, I name it check underscore education. Now it is going to be advanced a conditional action. It is a conditional action in the sense that it is going to check whether the user have clicked all these 5 buttons. Remember, we have 6 buttons altogether. But when you click on education, it will now check whether the user have clicked on government, industry, training, company, and enterprise, and skill acquisition before it will show the continue button. Okay, so that's why it is going to be a conditional action. So I click conditional tab here. I'm going to add my condition, and this condition is going to be if our variables which we have written are equals to something. Okay, so we are going to add the advanced action like this. If the variable, remember we are clicking on education, so I'm going to check if the variable, to be sure, let me position my advanced action panel here so I can see this thing and write it in serially. Okay, if they are a variable, let me start with the government. If it is equal to literal value of 1, okay, and the variable, because we have about 5 variables to check, okay, in this case industry, if it is equal to literal value of 1, and the variable, you have the trading company variable, okay, and the variable trading company is equal to literal value of 1. Okay, all the variable we are not using system variable in this case. It is the variable that we have written initially that I'm using here. Okay, so and also we're going to check the variable extended enterprise. You now know the reason why we give our variable a unique name. Okay, you can see here the section to add more variable. You can click this plus sign. Okay, add. We're going to check the variable skill. If it is equal to literal value of 1. Now these are our condition. If all these variables are equals to literal value of 1, our action is going to be show, and the button, next button, okay. For the meantime, let me see the name I give our button. So let me close this. I will click this button and check the name. This is services. Okay, service continue button. Okay, that is the name I give it. I give it a unique name, service continue button. So I return back to my advanced action. Go back. So the action is going to show service continue button. Okay, we are going to change the state. We are going to change the state of our services explanation to education. We are going to assign our variable, education variable, with the literal value of 1. And moreover, we are going to change our button, education button, change the state of education button to selected. Okay, so these are the actions that will be executed if these variables are true. Okay, if none of these variables are true, so we are going to use the else section. Okay, so it simply means if all these variables are true, then do this action, else do this action. Okay, we are going to write the action, and the action we are going to execute here is going to be these 3 actions. Okay, I copied it, go to S section and paste it. Okay, so it simply means that the S section is going to change the state of service expressed to education, also assign the variable with the value of 1, and also change the state of education to selected. Only action that will not be executed here is the show the continue button. Okay, because if all these actions are not true, it is not going to show the continue button. Okay, so I'm now going to update this action. Okay, we have written our advanced action for education. I will show you the easiest and quickest way to write the other actions without wasting much of the time. Okay, so now this very education button, this image is now executing this our action, which is the first action we wrote here, and we select the button and also execute advanced action, and it is going to be the same action. Okay, now let us preview this this very slide so you see what we have written so far. Okay, now we only wrote one advanced action. See, nothing is happening because we have not written, but if I click on education, you can see now it has changed the button to education, and also changed this this very button to selected. Okay, so you can see, but the next button is not showing because none of that condition are true. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to select this button. This government is going to execute advanced action. And I will select the advanced action panel. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to duplicate this action so that to save us time on how to do these things. Okay, so I will now click duplicate action and give it a unique name. I'm going to give it a unique name, and the name I'm going to give is check government. So here I'm going to change this government to education. Remember, here I will only change the variable to education. It is equal to literal value of 1. So is going to show the change the state of to government, and select change the state of government button to selected, and the S section going to assign the variable. I'm going to assign the variable government with the literal value of 1, and also assign the variable government with the literal value of 1. Change the state of government button to selected, that is the S section, and change to government. So I update this action. I'm going to duplicate it again and write for the rest of the buttons. Okay, so I click duplicate. So I give it a name that will reflect to industry. Check industry. So I'm going to change now if all these are correct. Okay, so I'm going to change the industry, change the industry to government, Then I'm going to change the show the next button, change the state of explanation to industry, assign the industry variable by industry with the literal value of 1. Going to change the industry button to selected. On the S section, going to change this to industry, change the industry button assign industry with the variable 1, and also change the state of industry button to selected. It's on that section. I update my action. I'm going to duplicate this action once again. I'm going to, this case, I'm going to check for training company. Since I'm checking for training company, so in this case, I'm going to change these to variable industry. All right. Now I'm going to change the I'm going to show the next button, change the state of to training company, assign the var underscore training company the literal value of 1, and change the state of training company button to selected. Under the S section, going to change it to training company, assign training company variable with the literal value of 1, and also change the state of training company button to selected, and now update the action. So I'm going to duplicate it once more. You can see how easy it is to rewrite all these advanced actions to check all other buttons. It is so simple. So I'm going to name this one check for enterprise. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to change the enterprise to training company, because we are already viewing the enterprise. We assign the training company the literal value if it is equal to literal value of 1. So we're going to show the next button. Going to change our multi-state object to as enterprise. I'm going to assign the variable
the Bluetooth device is ready to pair.
Enterprise with the literal value of 1, and change the state of enterprise button to selected. The same action is going to run here. I'm going to assign the variable enterprise for enterprise the literal value of 1, and also change the state of enterprise button to selected, and that is the S section. Alright, so we have it. I update this action. So I'm going to duplicate it once again. In this case, I'm going to change it to check for the skill. Check for skill. Now I'm going to change the skill for enterprise, and here I'm going to change. It's going to show the continue button. Change this to skill. For enterprise, going to skill with the literal value of 1. Change the state of skill button to selected. Now let me show you another easier and quickest way to do something. I click on this, select the whole of this in, copy it, go to S section, still select and paste. Okay, just delete this one. It's pasted below it. Okay, so you can see how we have finished our variable written. I update it. Now I believe we now have our advanced action written, and if we have written it well, we can see what will happen now when we run these actions. Now I'm going to select the government action, the button, and execute advanced action. And what is going to execute action is going to check the government. Make sure it is pointing to the right action. Your button is pointing to right action here. So I'm also change, select industry, execute advanced action. This industry is going to check for industry. Likewise, the button, we also check for the industry. It's the same action, check for industry. And now the reason if you click on the image, you can also view the content or training, or you click the button. So anyone you click, it will execute the same action. So I select this image on training company, execute advanced action, going to check for training company. Likewise, the button, execute advanced action, also check for training company. I select the external enterprise image, execute advanced action, going to check enterprise. Likewise, the button, we also execute advanced action and check for enterprise. I also select the skill, execute advanced action on the image, then check for skill, and now select the skill button, execute advanced action, and also execute the check skill action. Now we have associated all our button with advanced action. We save this project and now click preview the entire project, so I see how it look when at the finish end. Alright, okay, we have our welcome screen, and then click get started. It takes me to this page. The next button is not showing, or the continue button is not showing, and see how responsive this thing is. It It is very responsive. Even on mobile device, you can see how responsive it is. And this is how I created the mobile app that you view on Facebook. And here, it is very responsive project, right? So you can view it in the full version. Okay, now I click on education. It changed the content to education. The next button is not showing. I also check the government. It changed the state to government, and the next button is not showing. Enterprise, industry, it changed the state to industry. I also changed the button to a different color to indicate that you have selected this very particular button. I click on training company. You can see it is changing. The next button is not shown. I click on skill. The next button is not shown. When I click on extended industry, you can see our continue button is not shown. It simply means that our advanced action and variable and writing are working correctly. Thank you for viewing this project. And if you want to start creating this content from scratch, do contact me to get more information on how to get started building interactive content, building instructional materials, and develop course with Adobe Captivate. Thank you once again for your patience and for viewing this very video demo. I remain Oleg Chigozie from OCI City Center. Thank you.